name is Regulus, and I'm here today with Billy, or Archonstone, as he goes by in his
Just
professional.
just Bill, not Billy. Thanks.
Oh, just Bill. I'm sorry, Ferris. When we did our last recording, that got deleted because of the poor sound quality. He was calling you Billy, and that I got stuck
That's
in my
okay.
mind.
I noticed.
Anyways, so you have your own religious practice, your own church that you and some people have worked on, and you have your own website. What is the name of your website?
For me, it's archonstone.com, but for the group, um, it's church-like, is peopleembracingchange.com. All one
Awesome.
word, people embracing change.
And if anybody is interested in what you have to say, they can reach you through those sources, correct?
Yep. They can email me at archonstone@archonstone.com. So,
Awesome.
yeah.
So our topic for today is oneness. Um, you were just talking to me earlier about how you have like sheep or you have rabbits and chickens. Do you ever experience a sense of connection to them while you're tending to them in any kind of like deeper way?
Not specifically. I haven't gone and done that. I sitting in a chair or just meditating, or sometimes in bed, I will expand my presence out and feel oneness with the environment. But I'm also structuring it in a way too, with a particular practice. So,
I see, I see. Would you like to tell me about this practice?
well, it's similar to it's like a Pure Land tradition. It's almost like if you see a Tibetan Thangka, where you see a Buddha, and then there's like 6 or 8 Buddhas, and then there's another 6 or 8 Buddhas, and then, or you have different circles of different Buddha concepts. They're not all entities per se, but they could be thought gods. They have a specific word for that,
McGregor,
which is which is
right?
instead of using a thought god, which has its own particular mindset, I'm just using reflections of myself, and I place myself out there, do my sensing, and if it's appropriate, I will use it as a body of light to travel different places or identify with different things. But most of the time, I'm just kind of like out there chilling.
That's pretty cool. You just get to hang out outside of yourself and see the world from a different perspective. Is there like a specific like thing that happened to you, or like something that you have practiced that has allowed you to do this, or like what's the process to achieve this mental state?
I have several exercises in my book. One first ones I did when I was very young was retrospection. I just imagine that I am outside my body moving, and that's kind of a light energy projection. And it's before you even do astral projection. You're using the body of light, just trying to scope things out, and check the mailbox, check things are on a table, go down the street, take a look at things and see if uh, they're the same. So you're getting outer confirmation about what you're observing. And then I progress with astral projection and astral traveling. And now it's aspecting, because I use that body of light and I pull astral to it. So now I can change the energetic form and stay connected to it and travel even further and weirder places.
But
But the the exercise of retrospection is one thing. The other thing is, like people do in Hermetic magic, they set up watchtowers for each of the elements, uh, and basically, it's a conscious framework of separating the elements into something that you can relate to, but it's actually a subconscious process that you're projecting. Um, I did something different in my 20s where I was a professional card reader, psychic reader for people, and I would end up reaching people too deeply, and I'd go to some core trauma that they're not ready to deal with. So I created an astral simulacrum or astral crystal that would vibrate with a person, and I would communicate with it, and I'd only get what they're willing to reveal. So I wouldn't go any further than they could do. So I used that process of, it's like creating servitors, and had them investigate the area I lived in, so I'd have a better understanding of what people are going through, develop a better sense of oneness with the area, and be able to develop the critical thinking to go along with it. The problem is I was getting attachments from the world, and it's like you're creating more karma than you need, or attachments, and I couldn't move myself in the reality. All the awareness didn't help me because all the attachments I was attached to kept me where I was. So I had to let it all go. And literally, dreamscapes, everything took me about a decade.
What purpose would you say that emotions played in that process of letting things go and realizing you have attachments in order to?
Well, to realize that was partly because I was having deja vu like 20 times a day. I'd have dreams and they would come true that day, the next week, 20 times a day. It was, give or take, plus or minus a dozen, And I said, enough of this. And I had to start changing my behavior with another set of practices that I teach now. But I also realized I literally had to absorb all those aspects of myself that were out there, absorb them, and then mentally detach. This is stuff that doesn't belong to me. The information's good, but it's not me. And any other attachments, you have to energetically be completely unemotional about. And that way, you can let it glow. I already practice meditation and energy work where I can just kind of breathe and let those energetic attachments go away, ground them out. So,
so you're saying it's more so a point of trying to get to a mental state where emotions are not affecting you.
That, and also having my body at a metabolic zero for who I am. And you don't have to be aesthetically nothing, you don't have to, but it's, if you practice the right breathing and asana, which is like you're not moving your body, you're not breathing your chest because this is all fascia. It just generates more charges. Just breathe through your diaphragm and slow it down. Once your brain stops throwing stuff up for you to judge, thoughts or emotions. Once I realized I just have to detach what doesn't belong to me, and what is mine, I put it in my mind, give it a box, give it a label. What's not mine, just ground it out. But there was a lot of energy too, so I kind of absorbed it as well, because that's another practice I do. So, but all the information, all the personality, all the attachments to it, go on. So a decade or so later, I end up moving down here in the South. I start building aspects of myself as me and nothing else, nothing. And put them around me so that I can do astral aspecting or working with a body of light and explore things. And from it, I can detach the energy and the astral that gets attached to it, but I can remember it emotionally. I don't have to live it emotionally. It's a different thought process, being able to think with your emotions, but not let that emotion reflect in your metabolism, which energizes everything and makes the attachments and all that type of stuff.
So you're thinking about it in a form of like visualization of self is the key to being able to create an actual that like entity that is part of you outside of yourself. And then after you have created the entity, the key is to be aware of like astral, or rather ether is another way of saying it. Ether tendrils that get attached to that body or vessel outside of yourself in its travel. And then once you, in order to like fully incorporate those parts of yourself back into yourself, you have to learn how to detach from your mental and emotional states that are attached to these specific instances or situations that your external vessel would have experienced. That way you can reassemble yourself with the full perspective of what those parts of you have experienced, is kind of what you're saying?
It's sort of. These aspects are always there. I set them up. The thing is, they go back down to a neutral state on this plane, so that I don't have to worry about it. Because it's part of me and it's part of the process I have with my physical body. So the integration is there. It's the trick is only have it make me aware of anything that is unexpected. Because once you get that point where you have that sense of oneness, your awareness is out there. Whether I had it or not, I can expand myself to the regions where they're sitting at and experience things. But you end up having to focus on things. So it's like multiple foci, focuses. All they need to do is tell me when there's something weird or different, and I'll pay attention to it. Setting them up, it's almost like you round robin.
So to
most people can only handle.
What you're saying is that these are these extensions of yourself are extrasensory organs. Like you're creating the ability to sense from without or outside, from outwith of yourself. You can sense what these beings that are part of you can sense, is in a sense. Even though they're not beings themselves, they're an extension of you.
Yes. And Hindu practices, they may be called tulpas, but that'd be more related to something that's instinctual.
I think a tulpa is more so like an actual, not like, it's more so its own entity. It's not actually a part of you so much.
Technically, it's more like a poltergeist. It is part of you, but it's you segregate it off. But here I have a conscious connection with it. I'm trying to backtrack to where we're.
You're talking about breath work. I wanted to, while you're thinking, you were talking about breath work. Would you attribute the method of your practice to like prana and the Hindu system of breathing in order to achieve a sense of awareness of your own prana, and in order to increase your prana, which is essentially like your life energy in a way? Like
absolutely.
That way you can become more connected.
Absolutely. The pot belly 4 square breath is common to many mystical systems around the world. You do that. The trick is that's just to get yourself zeroed out. The idea of killing your ego is not the thing. It's getting it to quiet and then have it embrace other emotional modalities so you can expand it to be a bigger tool, but have you under control of it, not it controlling how you metabolize and think and feel. So it's learning to control it. But yeah, prana is where you start using a yogic breath with your body. Then you use your chest to actually reach out, connect with spirit that's everywhere. Spirit, and ideally, you want to meditate with your body enough to find compatible energy to you. There's lots of energy and contaminated energy from people and what have you. I don't do this at malls. I don't do it at bars. I'm out at nature, but I also use my aspects as well to connect with nature and only with that which is compatible to me. Breathe out, commune with it, what it's willing to let go of. As I breathe out, I force it and I bring it down right here in a place called Hindu Tantra. It's called Hrit. It's between your second and third chakras. It's in your Sushumna channel. In Taoist yoga or Qigong, it's called Dantian. You compress it, you kind of visualize it. You can use your body to compress it, spin it, compress it, and it makes it more substantial. And then every time you bring a memory of things that you commune with, that flavored prana gets stored here so that the memory is in spirit right here and you're right there. So all I have to do is feel it here and I connect to it. It's just because I'm building the relationship with my spirit. But Wallace, Christopher Wallace, who's a tantric and Sanskrit scholar, says some of the original tantra, it's not only are you bringing prana up from the ground up, but you're also bringing what they call apana, A-P-A-N-A, bringing it down, and you're meeting it down here in your heart chakra. For the longest time, I was trying to work and bring the energy up here and up through. It wasn't getting past here. I read a technique about Shiva Bandha instead of Mula Bandha, and I bring the energy down. And once it met here, it just started flowing up and down. So,
so like yin and yang, you have to match energies with your environment in order to receive and give on equal fronts in a way.
It's. I think this is like more overworld type energy where space time. Time has a structure where things happen in more places and in different times at the same instant, and as opposed to underworld stuff where it's like time and space tends to collapse. It's part of the dream walking practice.
I actually can relate that just to my own experience, because when I lived in the state, so in the idea of oneness, like here is the concept that, like, for example, if God existed and created evil and good, then all of the system, the entire system is one functional system of God as one. And I'm not saying I believe in, I do, I believe in God, but I'm not saying I believe in God for this instance. I'm saying that that's a description of oneness in the sense that good and evil create one functional system together, right? And from hell in the hell mindset of being stuck in suffering and not like having a way to get out of your own suffering, whether it's self-created or not, you have that sense of everything is in one state. It's that there is no separation from how you think you are feeling right now to how you're going to feel in the future. You are stuck in the mindset of I am suffering, I will always suffer. And I think that is the signification of a collapse of space-time inside of the mental processing, like how we see the world. And
Yeah.
in a like,
You
I was
well,
gonna,
if you let that emotion overwhelm you, and you let your ego replay it because you're comfortable in processing information from it, your ego will help keep you there. It will also build the dynamic in your spirit. You want things to let go of, things to work out. Yes, as to the concept of God and uh, its supernal structure, the idea uh, of the Abrahamic God and that structure. And I won't go into the history and my difficulties with it. Um, it creates its own heavens and hells, which are imprinted overworlds and underworlds based on that being and its structures and a relationship with all the beings that it manipulates, uses, and everybody who, by belief, adheres to it.
so would you say
And
that these hells and heavens are imminent in reality, as in we are directly rewarded or punished through our behavior to experience that state of being in this world?
and in the hereafter, if it is your belief, if you so attach to it. Now, granted, that being and that present that reality's imminence is wherever people believe. It is here. Um, Heaven and hell, it's very close. You can access it. It's an energetic state. But nature has its own overworlds and underworlds that have absolutely nothing to do with evil, absolutely nothing to do with um,
I would say
those particular.
perhaps chaos and order would be nature's higher and lower states, entropy versus organized systems.
Um, I think chaos and order is imminent in all of it. I mean, when you experience a heaven or an overworld or an underworld or a hell, the structure, there is a definite order and structure to it. Okay. The thing is what we perceive as chaos, which I don't see as chaos, is how time is structured and how it ties into our energetic relationship to the place and the way time flows in it, or how is it connected to time. And it seems chaotic because, for example, a lot of people dream underworld dreams, and a lot of dreams are based on it. And the typical thing in an underworld dream is, for example, you're walking down a road. Okay, so it's a road. You pay attention to a tree or a rock or some other object. Next thing you know, it turns to a gravel path. You're going down the gravel path. You pay attention to a stream, and next thing you know, it's a different path. And you pay attention to the path, and that stream becomes a torrential river. Okay, that's because you're energetically changing your relationship there, and the energetic relationship of what you have observed brings you along to a space and time collapse system that reflects it. And there are objects that kind of like straddle both of them. That's why you see them. And you develop a relationship with it unconsciously, and it shifts. Now, for most people, that's chaos. Okay. But it's a very defined structure. You learn to you plane walkers learn how to walk it because it has a very definitive structure. But you have to negotiate it with your energy, and it's almost like
What strategies do you know of to intentionally shift your energetic output? Like if you catch yourself outputting negative energy that is causing these negative, like downward trends in your the whatever plane you're walking on or whatever dream you're having or however you want to phrase that, how would you personally shift your intentional output to positive or to a better, more productive system?
Well, two things. Um, I trained myself to do two things to make it lucid, because you can follow it, not necessarily be lucid. Is once I see my hands, before I go to bed, whatever practice, or it's a practice, study my hands, because the first thing you as a baby learn how to manipulate the world is your hands. So you get the instinctual to do. The next thing is I do a little short sniff. It links to generating a little bit of anger, not madness, anger for focus. And then I say, what do I feel? And I use that part of my meditation practice. How do I feel? What's the feeling? And identify it. So it's like, is it mine? Is it not mine? But there, it's you're reflecting it. So what do I feel, and how do I flow and connect to it? So as soon as I start feeling it, and I'm conscious of it, I use my daily practices of like focusing on positive emotions, because this is my thing about every emotion has a positive and negative side. For example, anger is for focus. Being mad is where you waste energy, and it's all about energy conservation and putting it to use. So it's order and chaos. Madness is chaos. Okay. Happiness, if it's joy, yes, you are creating a shield. You're vitalizing yourself. You're putting your whole body full of energy, and that'll pump you right out of a dream anyway, because the energy is so vastly different. But if you're giddy, where you find every little thing amusing, it's not true joy. You waste energy. There's some vampires who love to just get people giddy so that they can feed off that energy. And everybody's exhausted, they go off and they're awesome. Sadness. Sadness is fine, as long as you are aware that you are seeing something that is gone and you're letting it go. If you're holding on to it, it's moroseness. You hold on to something that's gone, your energy is being tacked into the past. You're not going to get it back. You're letting it being cemented in the past space, time, and other artifacts.
Something that I want to touch on that it seems like you're getting into here is that the systems for experiencing positive emotions are structured systems, whereas when we don't have intentional self-control and we allow our emotions to run away with us, we tend to experience these negative sides of these emotions. Whereas if we have self-awareness of what's happening while we're feeling these things, we can structure our emotions to become positive or productive and helpful for us, rather than harming us through our own lack of awareness of how they work and what's causing it or how it affects us.
Exactly. Absolutely. Yeah. For example, worry and pensive. You can store the energy for the future. Yeah. The opposite of worry is pensive. And I structure it to trigger me to act in this. I've already know how I'm going to act and respond to that event in the future when it happens. So yeah, you're absolutely right. It's organization. It's organizing it. It's not to say chaos can't be helpful when things need to be shaken up, but you can also project a structure out there. It's like like the prow of a ship. It's got structure, but to make way, it has to cause some chaos with the water and pushing it out of the way, and it tumbles and whatever. When it get past you, it goes back to its regular flow. And winds have a flow. May seem chaotic, but there's a flow to it. And when that's the thing about oneness too, is like being able to accept what is and the flow of events. and
I think that Hermeticism helps us reach oneness pretty easily because of the idea of the natural laws of the universe, right? We have the law of attraction, the law of gender, the law of vibration, and a lot of these laws have later been proven by science to as their relative, structure. Like gravity is attraction. The law of positive and negatives in electricity is or electrons, right? Is
yes,
gender. And then it's funny to me because if you have the sense of oneness, you can sense that there is the law of cause and effect, that there is nothing that we can experience that did not have something that caused it. And that chain of events goes back to the singularity that caused the birth of our universe. So all of these things are interconnected at the
those are
fundamental level, right? And the chaos, in my opinion, is a projection or a creation of the human mind to try, or the lack of awareness or understanding of what's happening around us. Because the more aware of reality you become, the more you realize how interconnected everything actually is. So
some of those things that you're speaking of are philosophical assumptions that people can order the way they view life. Okay. For example, gender. Now, there's genetic variations all in between. So that's for an example.
our understanding of gender at the time was much less advanced than it is now. When these
well,
ideas were concepted.
the Jewish scholars had 8 versions of it going back in the Middle Ages. So they have different words for it. So which are kind of appropriate for today, but because they saw things for what they were, and they described what they observed, and working from that. So there's cultural context. As far as, for example, laws of attraction, there's also laws of repulsion. There's it's just like the Hindu concept of attachment and revulsion. You have to let go of your revulsions as well, so that you can be detached from that process to see things for what they are, in different contexts. So, yeah, I view Hermeticism more as a set of symbolic constructs that we use to order our mind and our experiences. Different Hermetic groups have their different ways of doing it, different magic, spiritual structures, different cultural contexts. So some of those blanket statements that you're talking about, they are they're not 100%. It's what is useful is to have that structure and be aware of it, as you're talking about, but to see the anomalies. And when you see the anomalies, you kind of put them in a box, and time, space, where they happen, how they happen, why they happen. And next thing you know, you start finding structures in the anomalies. And that's where you get these aha moments where you kind of like pierce the veil between the binaries. Because I'm more of the Hermetic. There, pup. I'm more of a mystic, because it's like, if you're looking at the tree of life, you got the binaries, left and right side. I try to go up the middle. And I know it's a harder way of doing things, but it's to see things for where they actually are and how they interact. The structure is very useful, but it can't be the all, because it's a dynamic thing.
I hear that.
Hey, you're a beautiful puppy there. Yes, you are.
She was being extra needy, so I had to pick her up for a second. She was rubbing up against the chair, trying to get my attention.
Yeah, we had a puppy that passed away last week, and I got a mutt around here that gets like that too. So
She's a good girl, though. I'll tell you what, man. And like when I get home from work, she's right at the door waiting for me. When I go to bed, she comes up, lays right on my feet. Like, no, she's motivated by food. Like, it's such a good dog, you know.
Yeah, our current dog, I call him our Snorfelhund. You know, between our office and going outside to go potty, he has to go to the kitchen, make the round, sniff it, and then come out and check the cat bowls and check that, and then he can go. And on the way back in, he knows that they're empty, but he will do the same circle. He's hilarious.